I don't know that I wanted to do this on this particular show. But I think that, there's been a little bit of a conversation going on in the comments about conference realignment, about those types of things. And I think it would be remiss to at least not spend a minute or two here as I get closer to wrapping up our time here this evening talking about conference realignment. So first of all, before I go into that, we've got, about 20 people. We've been anywhere from, up to 27, 28 people at different times watching this. If you want to talk about conference realignment, if you have an opinion about conference realignment, go ahead. Even before I start saying anything right now, go ahead and drop your opinion in the comments. I'd be interested in hearing what you guys think about Notre Dame and how they fit into the conferences and if these conferences are good for college football. Like I say, I've already talked for, upwards of, getting close to 30 minutes now. I don't really intend to. This could be a whole conversation where I could talk for a whole hour about Notre Dame joining the Big Ten or the SEC or whatever conference. And I don't really intend to do that at this particular time. However, here's what I'll say about conference realignment in general, and then eventually about Notre Dame and, should they join a conference? Should they remain independent? What very little things I've heard about Notre Dame joining a conference and everything in between. First of all, conference realignment are bad for college football. I don't know. I think that there are a million takes on this right now. I think without really knowing the scope of why that of why the conferences are aligning, how they are, it's hard to see how it plays out. And at the end of the day, here's what I think about conference realignment today on July 11th, 2022. And that's that, the NCAA has done a terrible job in terms of how they've handled NIL, in terms of how they've handled the transfer rules, in terms of how they've handled those types of things that the NCAA is supposed to handle. Okay. Could some of these super conferences go ahead and just get together and say, screw the NCAA? Like, why does that even exist? We'll have our rules as a conference and we'll coordinate with the other 2 or 3 super conferences that are looking like they're going to get formed. Is that a possibility? Yes. And I think that could be a very nice byproduct that these conferences will say, okay, listen, okay, the NCAA isn't going to do anything about NIL and some of these boosters throwing a lot of money at kids. We're going to make this particular rule for kids in our conference. And, the other conference is going to be like, yes, we want to save college football. We want to be on par with these, with this other conference. We want to get invited to these bowl games, whoever becomes in charge of that. And so therefore we're going to abide by the same rules as this particular conference. So is it possible that one conference gets so big and does things in a certain way that it puts pressure on some of these other schools to, not abuse NIL rules? Yeah, I think that's a possibility. In terms of where Notre Dame fits, I had heard, and again, I say this with a grain of salt. I don't have any inside information. I don't have sources at Notre Dame. I'm not trying to insinuate that. However, I had heard at one point that Notre Dame was going to make a pretty quick decision about where it was going to go or if it was going to go, and that we were going to hear one way or the other soon. it appears that it was not true. It appears like that was a load of hokum because, and really it makes sense. Notre Dame has taken a really very reasoned approach with NIL. It's going to take a reasoned approach. They're going to say, they're going to wait and see how some of these dominoes fall, knowing that there's always going to be a place for Notre Dame at the table of any of the big college football mega conferences. Notre Dame could wait till every other team joined a conference and still have their pick of what conference they wanted to go in, despite what some people are saying in the comments right now. I think that, here's where I stand currently. I've been a guy that has always really loved Notre Dame being independent. There's a lot, even some national media people this week have said things about Notre Dame and how the fact that they supposedly don't play anyone it is just a load of baloney. And when national media type guys are talking positively about Notre Dame, that's telling. Let's put it that way. So, I've loved the independence of Notre Dame over the years. And before I go on, I have to address this person in the comments because really he is just sort of distracting me. Eric, who is clearly an Oregon fan, says, why did ND flop on Dante? Well, Eric, my friend, you must have missed the first 20 minutes of the show. So, didn't work out with Dante. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Notre Dame didn't want Dante more or whatever. I'm not going to do that. But, go back and watch the first 20 minutes of the show.